once a month, a community gathering would be there where you will have some religious services and then some cultural events. And so that was the reason we started there. And then when we had kids, all the more reason for them to get to know their culture and religion.
Welcome, Supermoms, to Mom's Talk. Our today's Supermom guest is joining us from Indiana. She is a doctor. She's working as a program director for pediatric infectious disease, and she's also helping the community by giving her time to the Hindu temple of Central Indiana. Welcoming Dr. Anita Gupta. Lovely to have you, Anita.
Thank you. Nice to have me here.
And thank you for doing all that service for the Hindu temple, Anita.
It's an absolute pleasure. It has been a journey for me, and I really love it.
Absolutely. Talking about journey, that is what we are going to talk about in today's show. And I really wanted to start the conversation by asking you, when did you come to this country?
So it's been a long time. I came in 1996. Oh my God, I can't believe half my life has gone here. But yes, 1996 is when I came, and I came directly to Indiana. So that has been my home base ever since.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's great. So what attracted you towards the Hindu temple?
Um, so growing up in India, you are religious, but not that religious. But I think the sense when I had kids, and then that was more of the reason to get to the temple because they had a children's program there. So it was called
Mhm,
as Bal Gokulam. And just teaching the basics, learning, making sure the kids learn Hindi, get to know their religion and their culture. So that was the one thing. And plus my husband, we both are very religious in that sense. He's definitely very religious than I am. But so that all started with there, and we didn't have anything like and as a community, as a Hindu community. So that was all the
mhm,
more reason to go to the temple, because it would be once a month. A community gathering would be there where you will have some religious services and then some cultural events. And so that was the reason we started there. And then when we had kids, all the more reason for them to get to know their culture and religion.
mhm,
And when
mhm,
you start there, then you started volunteering, and everything started, uh, the pieces fell in place, and we were
mhm.
able to, uh, so how you can make sure that the next generation gets what you have learned, or, what our elders have learned. That's how we
Mhm,
started getting involved. And being at that time non-working, gave me much more opportunity to be involved over there.
mhm, mhm. Does this start, did this thought process start from your childhood? Because, the growing up years that add on to a lot of things that we do in our future. How was your childhood like?
My childhood, it was I mean, very nice upbringing. I've studied in a total Catholic school throughout my life, but
Hmm.
and I embraced both religions in the sense that when I was at school, I was more what school was, adapted to the school. But then when
Hmm.
you came home, I was very much into my own religion. So I
Hmm.
was trying to embrace the good of both religions. And so growing up, I've grown in two different kind of cultures, as you can say. And so when
Hmm.
I came to the US, I think it was most of that I wanted my kids to be also part of that dual culture, so that
Hmm.
they know what their basics, what their roots are. And then it depends on them as they grow up to, they can choose whichever direction or path they want to go. But if you have those, as you say, that the first steps that the mother or the parents take with the child is what remains in the child's brain. So that's why we wanted to do that. And that's how we have grown up that way. And my
Hmm.
dad and my mom were very, very, open minded. So nothing was more like, but not a rigid thing, but yes, you have to know your culture and follow it.
Absolutely. And like you said, you were exposed to two different cultures. Is there something that you can share with us that you have learned from these two cultures? Because you've been exposed to the two cultures equally.
Right. So as I said, in the school, entire up to 12th grade was all Catholic school. And so I was part of, you know, I used to go visit the chapel because that was something, And then in the morning prayers were all Christian prayers in the morning. And then I was also part of the choir. So during Christmas time,
Hmm.
I am at the church, singing the hymns. So that kind of it gave me the value of Christianity, as I would say, because I learned different things, what was happening there. And I was also part of, different stage shows. Like even there was a lot of competitions going on. So there was actually one competition on Bible now that I remember. And it was a
Hmm.
school-wide competition. And I won the entire, I mean, I stood first in the entire competition in the school. So someone would say, as a Hindu, how in the world did you become, that you stood first there when there were others there? But it was not about how much you can grasp from that culture
Hmm.
or the religion and then imbibe that into your own
Hmm.
values. And the same thing happened at home. Home, we were, yeah, religious. You celebrated, or, Holy Diwali, every festival that we celebrated. We were too much engrossed into it, but we were
Hmm.
also taking the goods of the other religion and the culture that we were exposed to, and we kind of brought it together. Uh,
Hmm.
and I grew up in Kanpur, and Kanpur and Lucknow are very close. So we had a lot of Islamic religion people, there.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was not that we imbibed those values from there. We kind of my dad was much more exposed, so he would tell us more about what was happening in that religion. So it was much more what do you call it, a multi-religious, multi-cultural kind of an upbringing that I was exposed to.
That's very interesting, Anita. And not everybody gets that opportunity to have an exposure of these three different cultures. Do you know what kind of is a common factor between the three cultures growing up, if you have ever given it a thought? Do you think there is
Right.
something that everything comes together?
It does come together. So now I being here at the Hindu temple, we look at some of the stuff that goes in our religion, and then we say, why are we so rigid? And then you hear about the news and other religions, these are so rigid. And we think that no, the religion, the scriptures don't give us that rigidity. It's us as human beings. We make it rigid for ourselves. All
Hmm.
all they say is love thyself, love thy neighbor, you know love
Hmm.
everyone, be respectful for all. You are you are there is a supreme power. Everyone says there is a supreme power. It is
Hmm.
just that you are just bringing a personification to that supreme power.
Hmm.
Every religion is trying to do that. Islam, as Muhammad, I just don't want to name things, but when you say that there is a personification in every religion, because unless when you start worshipping something, it's very difficult to worship an abstract thing. And
Hmm.
that is the commonality in all of the religions, not just these three religions, but in all religions. And that's where you are not worshiping a person, but you are worshiping some supreme power that holds you. So not
True.
every religion has the same values. It is
Hmm.
just a matter of how much you take those values and become more human versus
Hmm.
more becoming much more of a rigid person and say that this has to be done in a certain way because our religion says or our scriptures say. And I think that's where we need to understand that we
Hmm.
are humans and we have to be more human in nature and not be whatever you can call it. But
Hmm.
that's where I
Hmm.
think all religions have that commonality there.
That's so true. That's so true. If we just keep that in mind, that we are humans first, everything will fall in place.
Absolutely.
Talking about humans and human body, how was your journey as a doctor like, Anita?
Oh, it it has been a journey. So, um, I mean, I don't even remember when that thought process of that I would become a physician came up. I think it was more as we all growing up, our parents' ambitions, translate into the kids' ambitions.
Hmm. Hmm.
And my dad was, uh, he knew that that's what he wanted me to become, and I think I kind of took it there. But he never kind of restricted me. So I had actually had that opportunity I don't know how much everyone would know, but in India, once you complete your 10th grade and you are into 11th and 12th grade, and this is 30 years back, I'm talking. So you
Hmm.
have to decide whether you are going to go towards medicine or you're going to go towards engineering. So you have to decide that. Based on that, you get your subjects to choose from. I had the opportunity, by the blessings of my principal also, and my dad, everyone, that I was able to take both in my 12th grade. So I was able to actually sit for both my engineering and for my medical exams. And
Wow.
I passed both of them, and then I had to make a choice. And then
Oh my
my thought,
goodness.
yeah, it was a difficult choice. So I let go of my engineering to go into medicine, because I'm like, okay, my brother will never go into medicine, so it's better that he can go into engineering and I'll just take the medicine profession. And I
Oh my goodness.
absolutely
Just
loved
taking
it.
up one field takes up so much of your mind and, energy and everything and focus. And you did both at the same time. You're a
I did
superhuman,
both at this.
Anita.
No, no, it's not. It's just an opportunity that you get, and then and then my dad being, he's retired now, but he was teaching physics and maths, so I had that opportunity to at
Hmm.
least
Hmm.
have him as my teacher, my guide, while I was doing all of this.
That's great. That's wonderful. Do you have any advice for the children who are aspiring to become a medical student or a doctor?
If you, all I can say is that you have to have it within yourself to become that. It's not
Hmm.
unless you need to understand humans. You need to understand what is it that you are going to bring forth. If you are just going to do it for money's sake, I don't think so that's going to actually make you successful. So you have to
Hmm.
have that soft touch in you, and to care and be of concern for those patients that you will ultimately see, is what leads you into that. So once I got into medical school, that's how I got into it. It's like, okay, I really was caring for these people. I could understand
Hmm.
what was going through. So, because at home, when you are growing up, you don't understand the feelings, you don't understand what your parents or your grandparents or neighbors are going through, because you
Hmm.
have not seen that. Once you got into that medicine part, and you were actually, talking to patients, and you started
Hmm.
understanding what was going on. So you have to have that feeling to do that.
You have interacted with so many people, Anita, for you've been doing this for over what, 20 plus years. And in those many years, you might have, as you rightly said, you connected to people, you now know what the feelings are. Are there some of the learnings that you can share just by interacting with so many people?
I mean, I've interacted with so many people. I can just think about something. So this is way back when I was doing, medical school there, and I had a young couple. Actually, it was just a female who had come, and she had delivered a preterm baby. You know how it
Hmm.
was, that caring that she needed. She was running from one hospital to another hospital, trying to make sure that the baby, survives, and the baby stays, and then coming to her. So those things, you really feel that connection there. Is like,
Hmm.
you have a very small human being in front of you that you need to take care
Hmm.
of. So those things you that kind of let you, because you're like, okay, you have to have that aptitude to care for something very
Hmm.
small. There have been instances, I was doing my residency, and then we had a, a baby that I delivered, and then the baby I took care of as the baby was, few weeks old and a month old, and then the baby came, and then the baby was horribly sick, horribly sick,
Hmm.
and you know, and then at that time I didn't have a supervisor, so I didn't have a physician overseeing me. I was just a resident. As a physician, I didn't have an overseeing physician with me, but that family had that so much trust in me. And I kept on saying, I'm just a resident, I cannot take care of stuff. But they
Hmm.
just had that trust. They wanted me to take care of that sick baby who was as cold as anything can be. Like, we had to literally revive that baby out.
Hmm.
But that taught me that, you know, the other person, the person across from you, is trusting you, that they trusted
Mm-hmm.
their newborn with me. So I have to reciprocate. And for that, you have to have that soft feelings. You have to understand them, be in their shoes, and, take it from there to say how you would. So you care for that baby as if it was your own child. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's how you learn those values from them. So in my
Mm-hmm.
interactions are some of those values that you start learning, which
Mm-hmm.
you don't, those values, but you don't implement them, or you don't think about them as you are going through your life journey till you encounter them. And then you're like, okay, that is something that has, your mom must have told you, or your dad must have told you, or someone must have told you, but it doesn't register in your
Mm-hmm.
brain
Mm-hmm.
till you actually, see it in person, and then you face it in person.
Does it put a pressure on you, Anita? Like how you said, the other person is trusting you completely. That person is giving. And then at the point where they are in a very difficult phase, that they're helpless and you're the only person, the ray of hope for them. How do you overcome that pressure?
You just have to take a deep, inhale, and you say that you can do it. You have to take, like, if that person is very, very trusting, in which in this case that, the family was, then all you have to do is take a deep, big inhale and say, okay, I can do it. And then what you do is you connect with people around you. So in that situation, I connected with my surgeons, I connected with my nurses, I connected with my hospital administration there. And they
Mm-hmm.
were all very supportive, because if you don't have that support system around you, you will not be able to do it. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to have that support system. You need to develop it. And that's what takes you to that next step, you know. It's
That's
not
great.
easy. It's not easy, but as
I'm
physicians,
sure.
when we have people who are direly sick, and these are adults, and you have done everything that you could possibly do, and at the end you have to give up. But that's what you face it. You are crying inside, but at the face, you know, in front of those families, you can't do anything. You just have to face
Mm-hmm.
it.
You're a doctor. You have dedicated a part of your time and life to the Hindu temple, and you are learning Kathak.
I
How do you
am.
find the time? How did you get into Kathak? And, having these two responsibilities, how do you manage to learn Kathak now?
So Kathak, just, it wasn't out of the blue. I think I have some vague memories of Kathak from childhood, because my
Mm-hmm.
dad really wanted me to learn Kathak. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 4 years old. He brought home a teacher, and as a 4 year old, all I recall was I didn't want to do it. So so then he tried again. He tried twice, actually. Both my mom and dad, they tried twice, when I was very young. So I think around 10 or 11 years of age. But at that time,
Mm-hmm.
it so happened, I don't know, it was destiny or it was luck or whatever it was, but I fell sick. I had typhoid both the two times that I started. And I was started with someone who was living in our neighborhood only. And
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't materialize. So I kind of learned some basics, but I never materialized. And then when the kids were grown up and they were already in, high school, and I just, there was a teacher, she just lives right up down the street from me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just do it. Let's just take this up and take it as a hobby. And I thought that, why not dedicate? I've given up my life, for the kids, for them growing up and everything. I have
Mm-hmm.
this opportunity. I can dedicate an hour of my time, towards this. And now it's become a passion.
Mm-hmm.
I am just crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that I can actually graduate out of it.
You will for sure. See, that's the beauty of uh, taking up something that you absolutely love doing. And it's like, taking you away from all the other things that are going on in your life. So it's a beautiful thing that you've gotten into. Anita, what would be your message for all the moms?
I would just say that, your kids are growing up, they will grow up, eventually, but give your time, at least in the early years of childhood, as they are growing up, dedicate it to them, because that period will never come. I did give up my career for the first 10, 12 years of my kids growing up, so I was not even working. just because
Hmm.
I wanted to enjoy with them. I wanted to learn about the kids. I didn't, and I think there was another thing. I didn't have a support system behind me as we have in India.
Hmm.
So we didn't have a support system. But irrespective of that, it felt good for me. But yes, once they start going, full time to school and they're middle or high schoolers, that's when they need less of you, but you are still there. And that's when you can start. But never always follow your passion.
Hmm.
The Hindu temple has become a passion for me. Kathak has become a passion for me. Volunteering out in the community is a passion, and I think when I get the support from my family, that's the biggest advantage I have. I just recently completed my MBA, and that could only happen because my family was there supporting of me at that time. At this time, my kids supported me. In fact,
Hmm.
just to
Hmm.
let you know, so my younger son and myself, we both graduated together
Oh,
in
wow.
2023. He graduated from the undergrad program, and I graduated from my MBA, the same
That's
university. So
amazing.
it was a big talk of the town, and the university
Uh-huh.
actually just let out another video of the two of us, the mother son duo again.
That's great. How was
So
that like, Anita?
he was on
Hmm.
campus, I was doing online, but we would have some professors here and there similar.
Hmm.
But I think the biggest thing was when at the ceremony, the university wide ceremony, the president of the university, she actually mentioned the two of us had, and uh, so with two ceremonies, the undergrad ceremony, she mentioned my son and myself, and and then for the graduate ceremony, the same thing, but a different, speech she gave. And it was all out in the newsletter. And then they had an entire video recording of us, going through, and that actually has gone through the Indiana University Facebook page, Instagram, everything. And then they had this rolling out again on Mother's Day. So it has been a
So
blast
you're
to do.
famous. You're famous amongst the youngsters too, Anita.
Younger.
No, but truly, how was it like, studying with your son? I mean, even though you're not sharing the same classroom, but sharing the same campus, studying the same books.
Yeah, it was different. I'm like, you would ask him questions, and he's like, Mom, don't you know that you felt something? I'm like, no, but I need some help. So it was different. It was a different feeling to be, studying at the same time as your kid is studying, and then you are, he's on campus, which is fine, but then he knows that I have an eye on him, and I know that
Mhm.
he has an eye on me. What am I doing?
That's great, though. What a lovely thing to do. And that's what I feel. Everybody, you truly are an encouragement for all those women out there who think that it's too late to get into a new field or any field or whatever they want to pursue. It's lovely talking to you, Anita. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And thank you so much for dedicating your time for the community.
Thank you. Thank you so much.